Welcome in, whiskey freaks, to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your number one attitudinal bourbon destination. I'm John Stark, I'm your host, and I'll be bringing you candid and sometimes irreverent whiskey news, opinions, and reviews on the industry and the products they've been bringing us for hundreds of years. All right, whiskey freaks, pull up a chair, gather around the old pot still, because today I'm going to walk you straight into one of the wildest headlines floating around out there. I got big music news today. We're talking about Sean Combs. You know, Puffy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy, Brother Love. And guess what? We all know he's been convicted of all those terrible crimes, right? But now, he's finally reporting to jail, and he's heading to lock up at Fort Dix. And look, I'm not saying the universe is out here writing stand-up material for us, but this creep gets convicted of these crimes, and he ends up at a place that rhymes with Dix? It's like the universe leaned over and whispered, check this out. Yeah, no, we're not doing that today, guys. There'll be no Diddy or Puff Daddy, and definitely be no Brother Love today. None of that crap, guys. Not even close. Because today, we're talking about nothing but bourbony goodness. And we might just learn something while we're at it. It's going to be kind of an abbreviated episode today. Not really sure how long it's going to run, but it's going to be shorter than the last one. It's because I'm doing kind of more of a review than a tasting and a review. And there's reasons for that, guys. I'll give you the reasons. There's always reasons. And I've got a quick note. I got to thank y'all, all y'all loyal listeners and followers and subscribers. Look, there are more than 4.4 million podcasts out there right now. And you choose and have chosen, and I hope will continue to listen here to the Blind Tasting Podcast. And that means a lot to me. So thanks to all y'all. So today, guys, we're going to talk about a couple new releases. I've got one from our good friends at Heaven Hill. And you're going to want to hear about this one because it's 90 years in the making. And World Whiskey Society, they've got something fresh and new and near and dear to my heart. And we're going to head out to Hollywood because I've got an unsolicited movie review for all y'all. And finally, I break down another serendipitous kind of run-in with whiskey that I had in Quechee, Vermont a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Quechee. What's in Quechee, you say? Well, hang with me and you'll find out. So here's the deal, guys. Heaven Hill's got something special on the way very soon to celebrate 90 years in the business. And this is breaking news, guys. This literally, God, I hate that. This came out yesterday. This is the press release. This is brand spanking, breaking big bourbon news. Heaven Hill is celebrating 90 years of being one of the largest independent family-owned distilleries in the country. Yeah, that's not the big news, really. The big news is that they're marking this occasion with the special release, and it's called Heaven Hill 90th Anniversary 9-Year-Old Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And it's a blend, just to be clear about that. Now, this one uses their classic mash bill, 78 corn, 12% malted barley, 10% rye, and it's bottled at 107 proof, and it's blended from two styles of Heaven Hill bourbon. 70% is the traditional Kentucky straight bourbon, and 30% comes from barrels aged in heavy char. But a quick heads up here, guys. This drop is going to be small, like tiny. There's only going to be 204 barrels to this drop. They're all barrels filled on December 13th, 2015. And what was remarkable about that day? That was the 80th birthday of Heaven Hill. It's aged 9 years and 8 months. And Rickhouse's G&H, meaning nothing to no one. It's also non-chill filtered. That is good news to me and you alike. Heaven Hill says this is a nod to 90 years of family tradition. And this one's rolling out nationwide very soon in very limited quantities for $124.99. So keep your eyes peeled, guys. Set alerts. beg your usual liquor store, whatever it takes. And now, don't actually bribe anybody. That would be illegal. We do not condone illegal activity. You're gonna have to bribe somebody. Now, you guys know how much I love the Wild West. Jesse James, Wyatt Earp, all that dusty gunslinging frontier stuff, right? If you've read my book, you know I have many a story, many a chapter that has to do with the Wild West. That's just kind of my jam. And now here's something pretty cool. We've got a new whiskey, and it pays homage to one of the most iconic gun makers in American history. Now, I know not everybody's into guns, but if you are, this is a name you've heard, but maybe you don't know much about the man himself. And that name is sitting on the front of a whiskey bottle now. The World Whiskey Society just released the Henry Deringer American Single Malt, and it's aged 8 years. And it's part of their growing Western collection. If you don't recognize the name Deringer, well, he's the guy who invented the original pocket pistol back in the day, back in the 1820s. It's a small, easy to hide, deadly accurate at close range, got to be at close range, little gun. And that little gun became so popular that Deringer became the word for every pocket pistol that came after it. 200 years later, World Whiskey Society is tipping their hat to him with a cask-strength single malt bottled at 122 proof.
Woo, doggy!
They're calling it bold and precise, just like the man's craftsmanship, and the tasting notes back that up as well. You're looking at malted barley and wildflower honey on the nose, with dried apricot and a little caramel in the background. Then it settles into richer notes like molasses and toffee, plus a touch of black tea that adds a dry edge. The finish hangs around with malt sweetness, soft fruit, and toasted grain. Now it's going for what seems to me like a reasonable $99.99 nowadays, right? And it's available through World Whiskey Society's online shop and some select retailers if you can find it. And if you like American single malt with a little frontier spirit in the mix, this one might just be worth tracking down. All right, so I love the movies, the movie theater, and we try to go on Cheap Tuesdays. It's cheap here on Tuesdays. That's the $6 day. And this, well, it wasn't last Tuesday, it was a couple Tuesdays ago. I'm scrolling through what's out there, and, well, let's be honest, there's not much out there that's catching my eye. But then I see this comedy called Good Fortune. Keanu Reeves plays an angel in this movie. Yep, an angel named Gabriel. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'll grab a giant tub of popcorn, a big soda, maybe even a candy or two, because even if this movie sucks, I'm still winning. But here's the thing. I didn't really expect to love it as much as I did. But Keanu Reeves, the guy is something else. Right there in the middle of the movie, I'm laughing my ass off because this movie is freaking hilarious. And it hits me. He's like the Swiss Army knife of Hollywood. He can do action, comedy, drama, and then even this weird, heartfelt, cosmic stuff here like Good Fortune. And somehow it just all works. And the best part, you just believe him. He's never trying too hard. He's never winking at the camera. He's just calm. Sometimes he's mysterious. One minute he's saving the world, or the next minute he's fixing your soul, right? And of course, I start thinking bourbon thoughts because, well, that's just how my brain works. And I'm thinking, Keanu Reeves, he's like a good bourbon, right? Aged, refined, smooth, but he still has a kick that kind of sneaks up on you. It's like a single barrel selection, right? He's consistent, he's dependable, he's full of character, and somehow nobody gives him enough credit for all this, guys. People still look at him and say, oh, Bill and Ted, stoner guy, or John Wick, ass kicker, assassin, right? But if you step back and you take a look, guys, he's been in everything. Let me break this down for you. Keanu Reeves, he was iconic in John Wick. How many John Wicks are there now, right? The Matrix. How many of those, right? He's been in romance movies, everything from The Lake House to Sweet November. He's done comedy. Duh, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Was it really dumb? Yeah. Was it really funny? Hell yeah. And if you think back to the early days, Point Break, he played an FBI agent. He's done voice and animation, Toy Story 4. He's done all the things. And what ties all this together? Well, he never phones it in. Not one time. I know this is a lot to think about when you're sitting in the middle of good fortune, right? This is the kind of shit that goes through my head. And I'm thinking, for a guy worth almost $400 million, he could just phone it in. He really could. But he doesn't. And somehow, it just all works. He's like duct tape, right? Like I already said, a Swiss Army knife. It doesn't matter the situation. He just makes it work. Now, I think the critics, you know them, the movie snobs, the movie critics, they're a lot like bourbon critics. I think they underplay him. They look at Keanu and they think, he's just a stoner guy or an ass kicker, right? That's when I say, really? Really? You can't tell me he hasn't carried more movies across more genres than most actors do in an entire lifetime. All right, yeah, maybe some of you are scoffing at me right now. Well, go ahead. But if you've ever sat back and really watched this guy, you'll know he's more than just a meme on the social medias, right? And let me tell you, the movie itself, Good Fortune, which is the movie I was sitting in, doing all these deep thoughts, Good Fortune delivers. It's funny as hell, like laugh out loud funny. And think back to the last movie you went to where you actually laughed out loud in a movie theater. That's how good this was. And it's heartwarming. It's a little weird, but it's all rolled up into this beautiful cosmic type movie. And it's all revolving around this angel named Gabriel that Keanu plays. And it just makes you feel better about the world for a couple hours. So go on. Grab the wife. Grab the kids. Take somebody. Watch it alone. Get some popcorn like I did. Get some soda. All the things. And if you're like me, you're going to leave realizing, or maybe you won't, but you might leave the movie realizing Keanu Reeves is more than just Bill and Ted or John Wick. You're thinking, so Stark, are you in love with this guy? No, I'm not in love with him. Do I want to marry him? Did I mention $400 million? Yeah, so the next time you see him, maybe just take a second, sip your bourbon, and appreciate the range. And if you're a hater, well, bless you. But the dude's got irrefutable skill. You gotta admit, he's a pretty charming cat. And he's got 400 million reasons to keep showing up. And somehow it just works. I'll bet you didn't think we were going to get deep thoughts on Keanu Reeves today, kids. And yet here we are. All right, Whiskey Freaks. This is usually the part where I say, let's get to the fun part, my review. But today's a little different. Let me take a sip. I am actually sipping on Four Roses OESO. It's a single barrel that I got last year. I've reviewed it here on the pod. You can find that. I don't remember what episode it was, but you can look it up. OESO, it's a fruitier, kind of a sweeter concoction they put together over at Four Roses. And this is 100 proof. It is delightful. Let me get a sip. Okay. Today's going to be a little different. I mentioned that earlier, and it's going to be for good reason. We were out of town a few weeks back. Actually, we were hitting Vermont, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island because the wife's on this whole 50 by 50 kick. And let me tell you, Vermont is nothing but trees. I mean trees. Trees everywhere. If you ever feel the urge to hug a tree, that's your state. So we're cruising through the backwoods of Vermont, minding our own business, and my wife goes, "Oh, hey, look, WhistlePig. Is that the WhistlePig you talk about on the podcast?" I do a full double take at this point, almost strain my neck. And sure enough, it's the WhistlePig tasting room. Now, we planned this trip for months, and I had completely forgotten WhistlePig was based in Vermont. I mean, don't worry. We hit Ben & Jerry's. We hit the top of Mount Mansfield. We hit Calvin Coolidge's birthplace. And we hit the cheese place and the syrup factory. But WhistlePig never crossed my mind when we planned this trip. And I hate to say literally because, well, folks overuse that word. But we were literally right in front of the damn tasting room. The problem was we were on our way to check into the lodge. So I'm like, "Hey, hon, can we come back somehow?" And of course, my beautiful, patient, loving wife, she says, "Yeah, we can do that." So a couple days later, we doubled back to this little town called Quechee, Vermont. And I walked into the WhistlePig tasting room. Now, this is not the new Louisville one that they're building, they're working on. I think it was supposed to be open already. I don't think it's open yet, but my understanding is they're putting a tasting room together in Louisville to kind of be in that area where, Whiskey Row, that centrally located place. But I'm talking about the original one up there in Vermont. I sat down, I had myself a little flight, and I want to share that with y'all today instead of doing a review and tasting like I normally do. There are two reasons for that, and I'm going to give you both of them, guys. First, the completely magical, right place, right time kind of way we just stumbled onto this place. And secondly, because I've never been impressed with WhistlePig. I've never hidden that fact from y'all either. The whiskey I've had from these folks has just never landed for me. So I thought, here I am. What the hell? Let's give it a go. So here's what we're going to do. First, I'm going to get another sip of this Four Roses OESO. Look it up. I'm going to walk you through the three whiskeys I tasted in my flight, and then I'm going to give you my verdict for each one. Are we going to keep it, are we going to collect it, or are we going to cull it? So let's get into it. And FYI, I'm going to post a pic of the tasting room, the building, this historic building that it's in, all that jazz for you on socials when this episode drops. So go take a look. I'm going to assume, I'm going to figure, since this tasting room is in the middle of nowhere, Vermont, very few folks have actually been there. So catch a peek inside, because I took pictures inside as well. Check my socials, Facebook and Instagram, to get kind of a behind the scenes peek. Like I said, it's in Quechee, Vermont, and it's located inside a historic building called Parker House, and I'm not going to bore you here with all that history, but you can see it on my socials. I have lots of pics for you to look at. So we get there, and we parked out back, and it was raining. Wasn't raining a lot, but it was raining, I guess, this time of year, October on the East Coast-ish. And we walked up a flight of stairs to the second floor inside this mansion, this Parker House. And it's easy to see which room you need to go to for the tasting room because there's a giant brass pig outside the door. And again, you can see that photo on my socials. And you walk in, and let me be clear, it's quiet there, like a library quiet. There's no music, there's no nothing. And we were the only ones there. Yeah, I know, it's like noon, and there's nobody there but us. Okay, well, and there's a dude in a man bun at the cash register. So it's us and this dude. So when you walk in, you enter this 8x8 room that kind of serves as a gift shop area and the cash register and the man bun dude. I guess we'll call him the tasting curator. But all he really did was bring the flight to me and give me just a quick rundown of the whiskeys. It was kind of aggravating. I had to go find him to ask questions a couple times and to clarify a couple things that he'd mentioned about the whiskeys. That was kind of a bummer, but it all worked out in the end. He seemed like a cool dude. At any rate, picture this place with me just for a second. It's this little rectangle. Okay, it's not little. It's a rectangular room, maybe 12 foot by like 16 feet. Not big at all, really. Kind of feels like your grandma's old living room, like a sitting room, the one nobody was ever allowed to sit in. It's got that same energy there. It's Think a tea room, but for whiskey people. Now, I've been to a lot of tastings and distilleries. This one was honestly one of the most unique setups I've walked into. You open the door and boom, 3 high-top tables, a full-size leather couch, there's whiskey decorations all over the walls, and a fireplace with this 2-foot-tall tasting wheel sitting right in the middle. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks sharp, it looks intentional, that's the word they used, the kids use, right? Intentional. It really does look like somebody cared. But here's the catch. I mentioned this. It was quiet. Like a funeral home. And y'all know I'm a musical type of guy. I've talked about music here on the pod. Look, I'm not asking for a DJ or a disco ball. But give me something, guys. A little background tune. Something. Anything to keep it from feeling like we're about to bow our heads and pray over the whiskey. Lord, I don't want to have to bring a rosary to the tasting, guys. That's just me. All right, so back to the tasting. I went with what they called the Distillers Craft Flight. And this was their oldest, most premium flight. And of course, I drifted right towards that instead of the regular WhistlePig pours. Pretty much you can find it anywhere. And the first one I tasted was a 12-year rye they call Old World Rye. And it was a blend of 3 wine cask finished ryes. It become the 3 wine cask finishes becomes like a marriage, so to speak. And the breakdown, well, I didn't know the breakdown. I had to actually go grab a bottle off the shelf in the room to actually get these stats because the man bun guy. Anyway, so the stats are 63% Madeira cask finished plus 30% Sauterne cask finished and 7% port cask finished. And according to the good folks at WhistlePig, their website, after maturing for 12 years in New American oak, the spirit is divvied into one of 3 barrels that I read to you already, finished to perfection, and blended into a symphony of flavor. Yeah, they actually said symphony, guys. That was not me. That was them. They say, just like a fine wine, our old world rye's rich fruit and spice notes are great with an epic meal. Well, I didn't have a meal there. I didn't have anything. There was no crackers. Nothing was offered. There was literally whiskey offered. And barely that. And this one comes in at a lowly 86 proof, which I initially thought was odd, that they go to all the trouble of all the casks and all the finishing and all the mixing and the blending and all the things, and then they bottle it at 86. But we'll see. Maybe I liked it. Wait and see. Oh yeah, the price. This one, it's a 700 milliliter bottle, and it comes in at $159.99. Remember, this is 12 years old. Just so you know. So I'm going to tell you what I experienced briefly, and then at the end, I'm going to do the whole keep it, collect it, cull it thing. And for this one, the 12-year Old World Rye, on the nose, what I got was the sweet caramel, depending on where you live, and like a cedar cedar, like a piece of cedar wood. And it was pleasant. It was not like I don't know, we used to have a cedar chest at the foot of our bed, right? It was not a heavy cedar, like a cedar chest. It was a pleasant, gentle wood note. Now on the palate, I got sweet vanilla and caramel. Guys, it was super thin on the mouthfeel. It was very disappointing in that way. And there was really almost no finish to it. Now I wrote down, because I always mention this too, guys. Grab a notebook when you taste, even if it's just a cheap 25-cent notebook from Walmart. Write down all the things, the tasting notes that you have, the date, what you ate that day, what time of day it was, all those things. And then you can keep a record of your tasting notes and habits, and then you can come back to it. Well, I wrote down the word meh. That was the finish for me. Meh. So there's that. And I really hated that I didn't feel more for this one. Like, it's extremely unique. And I mean, they put a lot of effort into this one. So I give them 5 stars for unique, and it's got lots of cool points. Would I keep it? Would I collect it? Would I cull it? I'll let you know in a few minutes here. Let's get to number 2. So number 2 of my 3 whiskey flight, was a 15-year-old double oak, aged first in American oak barrels and then finished for an additional time in Vermont estate oak. And this is one of WhistlePig's oldest whiskeys in the estate oak rye is what they call it. They say it's the true connoisseur of rye. It takes its name from the Vermont estate oak trees where it finishes its long 15-year life. The trees are sustainably harvested right off their 500-acre Vermont farm. And this was interesting in why they use this wood for the finishing process. They say it's due to the harsh winters and shorter growing season up in Vermont. These trees possess a denser wood grain, imparting a nuanced and distinct flavor into the rye whiskey. Now, the WhistlePig folks call this one a pure expression of Vermont's finest. And if I'm reading my notes correctly here, guys, that I took and wrote in, the dude, the man bun dude, he told me it spent 7 years in your typical white oak barrel, and that last 8 years in their special and ever so fancy Vermont estate oak barrel. It's a 750 milliliter bottle, and this one comes in at a whopping $299.99. I did not stutter. $299.99 for this 15-year rye. So what did I get with this one? Again, it's a very special whiskey. I mean, you heard what I said. They say it's very special. It's for the true connoisseur of rye whiskey. Well, this is what I thought. Oh yeah, and it's 92 proof. I forgot to say. It's 92 proof. And this one on the nose, much stronger notes on the nose. And just 6 proof points ahead of that 12-year, but at 92 proof. And I also got lots of cedar. And I couldn't really, and I know these are different trees and different wood. Yeah. Cedar and pine, but I got a combination of cedar and pine here. I got caramel, and the aromas here coming off this were just thicker. And citrusy too. Got a little bit of citrusy here. Lemony citrus. When sometimes I get an orange citrus, this was a lemony citrus. Nice rye spice, earthy. It was decent on the palate, but it burned I wrote here, burns the tongue and tastes slightly like dirt. These are my notes. On my second sip, I get a long burn in the throat and finish. And these are my final notes here on this one, guys, on number 2, the 15-year. Cedar chips like you put down for a creature like a guinea pig. Heavy burn, way above the proof point. These are my notes that I took because this has been a couple weeks and I'm getting old. So anyway, that's what I took away from number 2, which was the 15-year-old double oak aged in American oak first and then finished for an additional period in the Vermont estate oak barrels. And the last one in my flight, this is an 18-year-old double straight rye whiskey. It's finished in Spanish Pedro Jimenez sherry casks, and the dude told me it typically finishes for 6 to 8 years in the sherry cask. So do the math there. I don't do math. 18 minus 6 or 18 minus 8, right? This one is WhistlePig's oldest rye whiskey, and this one was bottled at 92 proof. They did not have this particular one in the gift shop. They had the other two. They had the 12-year and the 15. They did not have the 18 available. I looked. Okay, the folks at WhistlePig say, before industrial distillation, America's original farmers would malt a small portion of their grain to start fermentation, the essential step that turns water and rye into glorious whiskey. As a nod to the farmers, double malt rye is crafted from a mash bill. Get this, guys. This mash bill is 79% rye, 15% malted rye, and 6% malted barley. And they say these grains unite in a show-stopping rye whiskey that stretches far and wide across the flavor spectrum. They describe it as bold, complex, delicate, and elegant. And you should use this fine whiskey, the WhistlePig 18, as the whiskey for your most memorable toasts. They say it is a gem on any bar. Did I mention it costs $399.99? But hey, at least it's a 750 milliliter bottle, right? And for our Hebrew brothers and sisters, it's certified kosher. So there's that. So what did I think? What did I think of the WhistlePig double malt rye finished in PX sherry casks? Well, it turns out, and hold on to your Glencairns, kids, it's really, really unique. And the flavors showed this uniqueness to me at the very least. Had a beautiful nose, and right away, again, I took these notes, right away, I sensed something special about this one, and I wrote that. Rich caramel, a bit of dustiness there, a bit of corn dustiness, which is interesting, right? A sweet note, and I could even smell the sherry cask in here. Now, on the palate, I got this terrific oakiness, this sweet dark caramel, this nice rye spice, and an exceptionally creamy mouthfeel. And the best part, the finish lingers in this amazing way with a slight tinge of heat, and that heat doesn't screw up the flavors and overpower it like the 15-year, that 92 proof 15-year that I just talked about. Yeah, no bueno. This one, that heat was absolutely the perfect proof point. And interestingly, it drank above that 92 proof point, but fantastically. So what's the verdict on all three of these rye whiskeys I tasted at the Quechee tasting room at WhistlePig? Well, I'll have the answer right after the money spot. Are you looking to update your bar or man cave with some great photographs or wall art? Head over to Etsy at famousdocs.etsy.com and pick up some fantastic prohibition, bourbon, whiskey, and gangster-related photographs and wall art. Okay, guys, you got to check this stuff out. They've got photos and posters of Al Capone and John Dillinger and Bonnie and Clyde. All kinds of cool photos from Prohibition over there. And if you purchase 4 or more items at one time, you'll get 20% off your entire order. That's famousdocs.etsy.com. famousdocs.etsy.com. Now, if you listen to the podcast, you know the verdicts. I'm going to give them to you if you've never listened before. Are we going to keep it, collect it, or cull it? To keep it means to proudly display it in your liquor cabinet or bar. This stuff's good for a pour anytime, but there's no need to stock up on it since it's always available. Collect it. Grab another bottle or maybe 2 since you find it so damn delicious. Or it could just be really difficult to get your hands on. And lastly, cull it. Use it to loosen rusty bolts or sanitize a dirty toilet. So for each one of these, I'm going to tell you if we're going to keep it, collect it, or cull it. But first, I want to tell you about WhistlePig's credo, their tagline right now. It's something along the lines of independence unbounded by tradition and a world apart from other American whiskeys. They say, we're here to push the boundaries of rye. And honestly, damn, I was impressed in a way with what these older WhistlePigs have got going on. Now, for the 12-year-old, the Old World Rye, that was a blend of wine cask finished whiskey, at 86 proof, that cedar flavor note, which doesn't typically appeal to me. It wasn't off-putting, but it really detracted from my mental state at that point. So it took away from my score. And it was terribly thin on the mouthfeel too. Look, it's got a price tag of $159.99 for something that's 12 years old. And look, I'm just going to pass on it. I'm not going to keep it. I'm not going to collect it or cull it. I know. I'm sorry. That's just the way I'm going with it today, right? I'm going to pass on it, right? Now, if I somehow got my hands on it for free, well, of course I'd keep it, but I'm not ever going to turn loose of that. I'm not ever going to turn loose of that much dough for a mid-rye whiskey. Even if they really tried real hard and they put a lot of effort into this one, which I know they did, I can tell they did, I'm not spending that cash. For number 2, and that's the 15-year-old double oak, was aged first in American oak and then finished for an additional time in their special Vermont estate oak barrels. Now, I love the whole sustainable shtick thing. I love that, but still not really clear how they're achieving sustainability, but they use the word, and that's very cool. Now, this one, just too much cedar or pine needles or whatever you might call it. I'm not a fan of those notes typically, and unfortunately, these were very prominent notes on both the nose and the palate. Now, it is a thicker, creamier liquid than the 12-year, but the burn, they're just too much burn. And to me, it just drinks way over the 92 proof points. And that's in a bad way. Now, if I somehow got my hands on this one, honestly, I'd probably give it to somebody who loves those notes and digs a bit zippier proof point in a rye. I wouldn't be able to cull it or pour it out. And that's probably because, it costs $299.99. But that's just never going to happen for me, guys. There are 24 better rye whiskeys out there, maybe 36 for half that money. I'd even grab a Green River rye for $35 over this one. And look, I'm not trying to be harsh, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it here, guys. No one should ever spend $299.99 unless you just dig WhistlePig. There's no reason for you to do that. Get a drink at a bar, get a drink at a buddy's house, whatever. Go to Quechee. It'd be cheaper to go to Quechee, Vermont and sit down in their tasting room than to drop $2.99 on this bottle of whiskey. It's just not for me. And what about number 3? Well, that was the 18-year-old double straight rye whiskey finished in Spanish Pedro Jimenez sherry cask. I got one word for you. Exceptional. All the way around here, guys. From the nose to the mouth-watering creaminess on the mouthfeel to the beautifully long finish. But I also got one other word. Too damn expensive. Yeah, for $399.99, I could do a whole lot of damage at the liquor store, guys. I'm talking bags in both hands, maybe even a victory lap down the bourbon aisle. And look, if I did own this bottle, I'd say keep it. In fact, I'd say keep it close. I'd say hold it, cradle it, maybe whisper a few sweet nothings to it. It really is what I would call phenomenal, guys. But there's a theme here today, right? It just costs too much. My wallet taps out long before my taste buds do. If I scored this one, if I did scoring, and I don't, I do keep it, collect it, or cull it. If scoring was my deal, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. And if I had unlimited funds, I'd say collect it. But this one, I still can't bring myself to buy even one bottle of it. I just don't think I could. I could buy 7, 6, 5 bottles of something really great for this kind of money, guys. So it's good. It's very nice, but it ain't that damn nice. Now, I'm glad I stumbled into WhistlePig up in Vermont. Hell yeah, I am. $30 for a flight of 3 whiskeys I almost never see on the shelves or see in a bar. And that's a win all day for me. And honestly, it gave me a chance to try them again with a clean slate. Y'all know I've been pretty hard on WhistlePig over the years, and this kind of gave me a chance to redeem myself and to redeem theirselves, really, in all fairness. As the problem here isn't the whiskey particularly. The whiskey's good for the most part, or decent-ish. The problem is the price tag. I just can't justify it. Maybe it's your jam out there in whiskey land, and if it is, good for you. But for me, I'm going to pass on buying any of these for the moment. They're not going to be any part of my collection unless I win the lottery, guys. Did I have some fun pours? Yeah, I had a great visit. It was a cool experience, and I'm going to share it with you on the socials, like I said, so look at the socials. But quite frankly, guys, it's just too rich for my blood. Last but not least, I got to give a shout out to the farmers, the distillery production guys and gals, the warehouse workers, the bottlers, and the truck drivers especially. They're the ones that make it happen, guys. So cheers to all of them. And before I completely wrap it up today, guys, I command you to share the pod with at least one buddy or friend or somebody who loves whiskey. Yeah, I do not command you, but I'd love if you would share the podcast. And also, don't forget to swing by the socials and check out all my pics of WhistlePig in Quechee, Vermont. Well, that's all I got for today, Whiskey Freaks. Thanks for listening to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your #1 attitudinal bourbon destination. I'll see you next time.